The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Forest Grove, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 39415. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation. Starting first, at the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver's side face of the front bumper. On the officer side, you'll find your mechanical siren. There are 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights located inside the lower zone of the front bumper. And as we move over to the angled edge on the driver's side, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Let's move up onto the bumper extension where you'll find a fire bell located on the officer side. As we move toward the center of the front bumper, you'll find a tubbed storage location for hose storage. You'll also find a swivel discharge located on the front bumper. As we move to the cab face, you'll find your marker turn indicator light on the outside edge, and then also headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. The high beam is located on the inside. Moving just up from the high beam and low beam headlights is where you'll find your emergency warning light forward facing. As we move out to the A-pillar, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror, and then up onto the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 identification clearance lights. Located up on the roof, forward-facing and slightly angled floodlights. Up onto the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar located in the very center section. And then also, just to the driver's side, over the driver's seat area, is where you'll find your Opticom. Let's take a look at the full view of the apparatus on the driver's side, and we'll focus in on the cab section next. Starting first with the center visual indicator in the center of the axle, Alcoa wheel, and Goodyear tire. As we move to the forward-facing portion of the bumper side, it's where you'll find an emergency warning light, and then just to the rear of that, a side-facing camera. Moving to the rear portion of the cab area, you'll find an emergency warning light, part of the lower emergency warning light zone. Easily accessible, these are the door lock latch combination. They are keyed. And you'll also find grab handles right next to that for gaining or maintaining 3 points of contact when gaining entry in and out of the cab. Moving just to the right, we have an air inlet, and then further to the right, we have a Shoreline 30 amp inlet, along with an indicator when plugged into Shoreline power, this will be active. Up to the top, we've got a slightly angled forward-facing floodlight, and then also a side-facing floodlight. Up at the very top section at the notch area, you'll find an emergency warning light side-facing, and at the rear of the cab, LED water tank level indicator. We'll come back to this section next. This is the mid section. We'll cover that in great detail. Let's move to the body section next, where you'll find your folding wheel chocks located at the rear of the apparatus. There are 2 located here. Then also you'll find in the rub rail emergency warning lights side facing. As we move up just in front of the axle, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. And then there are 2 pan doors located here. We'll cover those contents in just a few moments. Those are SCBA bottle and also fuel and DEF level fill locations. Also directly over the rear axle, you'll find an emergency warning light. As we move up to the very top section, side facing scene light. And then moving further to the rear, emergency warning light. And at the very top section of the body, this is going to be the hose storage location for your rigid drafting tubes. As we move around to the rear of the apparatus, we have a marker turn indicator down in the lower section, rubber arm, and then also emergency warning lights, brake, turn, and reverse light cluster. Moving up from that location, you'll find a rear-facing scene light, and then just above that in the recessed area, an emergency warning light. On the left-hand side, you'll find the black handle for lowering your drafting hose. There's also 2 2.5-inch discharges located, one on the passenger and one on the driver, and then also in the center, a rear-facing backup camera. You'll also find 2 fold-down steps for gaining access. As we move around to the passenger side, we've got some differences on this side. One, this is where the exhaust is located, and then also this is the side section where your ladder storage rack is located. As we move to the midsection, we're going to come back to that in just a few moments. This is the same configuration and layout except for the 2 items we just covered. Same thing for the midsection. We'll come back to that in great detail. Let's move on to the cab section next. What you'll find on this side in the front bumper area is you'll find your access panel here for the cab tilt. Also, let's move to the front bumper where you'll find your hose storage location, dry deck material and netting material, and then also a 2.5-inch discharge for the front bumper. Let's move around now to the driver's side of the vehicle. When the door is opened, the step will auto deploy. As we move into the door panel, you'll find all of our safety and warning placard information located on the door panel, along with your door control, lock, and window control. Let's go ahead and move inside the cab area. Let's first start at about the right-hand side of the driver's seat with this yellow placard indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation. Along with the VIN number, all of the fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and also fluid type. Moving now to the floorboard of the driver's space, you'll find your air horn foot pedal and also mechanical siren foot pedal. As we move to the left knee of the operator, you'll find the master battery switch, red knob located here, and then also officer window, driver rear window, officer rear window, DPF regen, and regen inhibit switch. As we move to the left, you'll find your start ignition switch and then also headlights. Moving up, you'll find this yellow placard indicating the height of the vehicle, length of the vehicle, and gross vehicle weight rating. You'll also find on the right-hand side all of the tally light information regarding your vehicle. Full view to the right of the driver's space. Let's start first at the top where you'll find the climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Just down from this location, you'll find some switches and indicators. First, we're starting with the engine brake on and off, settings for low, medium, and high, hose gantry not stowed, SRS fault, off-road traction, and mirror heat, along with your OK to engage the high idle switch, siren brake, load manager, and fog lights. As we move further down on the panel, you'll find your command zone, tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. It's function and touchscreen also. You'll also find this yellow diamond, pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. This is the rear spring brake. Along with your pump shift, there's instructions from road to pump and instructions from pump to road. Just as a reminder, 2 green indicators when exiting the cab. Driver side and passenger side mirror control. Moving now, you'll find your Allison transmission pad, push button, digital readout, informational note to pump in drive. Also some cup holders located here on the just right location of the driver's seat. And then overhead, we have a few switch panels located here. Let's start first on the upper left-hand switch panel, which is your emergency warning lights. We have an emergency master, roof light, roof momentary, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, and high beam flash. Moving to the next panel to the right, you'll find scene light control for driver scene, front scene, officer scene, opticom, driver alley, rear scene, officer alley, and perimeter lights. When any of these light switches have been engaged, the light will illuminate green, indicating the switch is active. Moving further to the right, siren control and PA control system also located within this space. This module here will control your electronic siren, and then also the microphone is for your PA speaker system. There is mic volume control along with different frequencies for your siren. Let's move from this location to the very center of the vehicle where you'll find a red flashing light indicating you may have a compartment or door open. Also, you'll find your seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green they're in the seat and belted. Quick view to the rear of the apparatus, 2 forward-facing seats which do house SCBA brackets. Behind the driver's seat, you'll find a speaker for your backup camera and then also S1 for shoreline power breakers. Moving now exterior, where you'll find your air inlet auto eject and then also your shoreline inlet 30 amp. When plugged into shoreline power, the battery indicator will maintain battery status. Also, as we move to the front axle, visual sight gauge indicator, Alcoa wheel, and Goodyear tire. Let's go ahead and now move into the rear portion of the cab area. First, let's start with the door panel. A fixed door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and also a grab handle. Just a reminder, when the door is unlatched, the steps will auto-deploy. Let's take a look inside the cab area, where you'll find additional storage at the forward location of the forward-facing seats. Also, 2 seats, one on the passenger, one on the driver's side. Those are fold down and do have SCBA brackets. Overhead of those seats, additional storage. Moving in between the 2 seats, forward-facing, additional storage here, netting located here, and also a light inside. Inside the compartment, you'll find shoreline power and then also 12-volt access via a bus panel. As we look overhead, you'll find your air conditioning unit. And then once again, overhead of the driver and passenger seat, you'll find additional storage located overhead. Let's move now to the exterior of the apparatus. We'll start first with the crosslay section. We'll identify a few items within this space. First, starting with a backboard storage location accessible here on the driver's side. We also have 2 crosslays located within this space and then also netting above. Just as a reminder, we do have a warning placard here because of entanglement. There is the possibility of entanglement, that's why we have a warning placard. Let's move now to the gray module, which is your master intake and also master discharge gauge. In between the 2 of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They're currently plugged and are utilized for testing purposes. Just to the right, you'll find a warning placard indicating when climbing on or off the vehicle, you should always face the vehicle. As we move down, you'll find a green indicator indicating OK to pump. That's if you completed everything with inside the cab properly. Also, audible alarm, outer edge of the bezel does rotate to increase or decrease sound, along with a deluge discharge to the right, water tank level indicator. Further to the right, pressure throttle governor. And then further to the right, as we move up to the very top section in the gray area, this is your scene lighting and also dash panel lights. Moving down, fire pump primer, push to prime air. You'll also find an informational note, at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Also, as we move further to the right, this is a rotate for your recirculating line. As we move down, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharges. They each have their own individual discharge gauge and also indicator for wheel position. Same thing with the next section down. Let's move further down where you'll find an additional discharge. This is the side discharge. Also, 2 2.5-inch discharges located in this space. As we move further down, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule for test pressures at 150, 200, and 250 psi. Also, a warning here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Also, a warning placard indicating that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment. That's only after proper training. Large diameter passenger side and driver's side inlets are located here. This is the driver's side. Also, you'll find the tank to pump. Moving further down is the watcher's placard indicating the type of pump and GPM capacity of your pump. As we move down, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedules I previously mentioned, along with a warning placard indicating pressure hazard. And then once again, this is your auxiliary inlet 2.5-inch, locally controlled via the ball valve, along with a warning placard, once again indicating only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment. Let's move further down on the lower section of the pump panel where you'll find your pump drain and also manual pump shift, and then all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Also within this space, you're going to find a cutout in the running board for additional hose storage. As we take a look at the rear cab wall, you have additional pole lights located on the passenger and also on the driver's side. Let's now move into the body section next. In the forward compartment, you'll find at the very top section a tool board and then also your battery charger and shoreline power outlet. As we move to the lower section, a pull-out tray at the bottom and also a pull-out shelf. Releases for those are located on the right-hand side. Overwheel compartment. Let's start first in the very top section where you have tool board, and then also in the forward section you'll have SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps. Moving to the rear axle with Alcoa wheel and Goodyear tire. Let's move back up into the top section where you'll find your ultra low sulfur diesel fill location, which is the silver cap. Slide the flap downward, it will expose the blue cap, which is your DEF level fill location. Let's move down to the rear compartment. This is on the driver's side, where you have tool board, and then also down in the lower section, when plugged into Shoreline Power, the outlet will be active. Full view of the truck on the driver's side, all compartment doors open. Let's move around, take a look at the rear portion of the apparatus. And then we'll focus in on a couple items here at the rear portion of the truck. First, access here to your hose storage location for rigid drafting tubes. Also a 2.5-inch discharge on the driver's side, along with an informational note here, warning regarding caps may be under pressure, so we have a pressure hazard warning. And then also when climbing on or off the vehicle, always face the vehicle. As we move toward the center, you'll find your backup camera. It does have a protective shroud, and then also warning placard indicating entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from the hose bed area, we have an additional placard, along with never ride on the vehicle while the vehicle is in motion. As we move down at the very bottom, you'll find an adjustable shelf, and in the lower section an adjustable tray that pulls out. That floor mounted tray release is located on the lower right hand side. As we move to the right side, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. And then as we move around to the passenger side of the vehicle, at the rear compartment, we have tool board located in the upper compartment, along with Shoreline Power outlet. In the lower portion, we have a pull-out tray. There is some special siding on the side of this tray, along with a release located on the lower right-hand side. We're to the over wheel compartment now. With the tool board open, D-handle gains you access. It will lock into position, release located on the hinge side. To the rear of the axle, you'll have an additional pan door. There are 3 SCBA bottle storage locations here. Once again, Goodyear tires and Alcoa wheel. Forward of this location is where you'll find additional bottle storage for up to 3 bottles with retaining straps. This is also the location for your diesel exhaust. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operation. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. As we move to the forward section, in the upper portion of this compartment, we have 12-volt access via bus bar, and then also 2 outlets forward and rear that are 120-volt, which will be plugged into Shoreline Power. Those will be active. Down the lower compartment, release located on the lower right. We're now to the pump panel area. We'll identify a few items within this space. Let's start first up at the top where the crosslays are. Access here for the backboard storage, also passenger and driver. And then as we move into the pan door here, this is where you're going to find the relief valve. You have the ability to adjust that from this location. Also, you'll find the backup hydraulic equipment rack. Let's move now to the lower section of the pump panel. We'll start first with a warning placard indicating pressure hazard. Caps, once again, may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Large diameter pump inlet located here. And then also as we move forward to that location, you'll find your large diameter discharge. It's the green labeled. And then also as we move forward, a 2.5-inch discharge. As we move just down from the discharge location, you'll find a 2.5-inch auxiliary also within this area, and then all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Also, as we move to the forward section of the pump panel, you'll find this lift and turn latch, which will gain you access to the control module for your powered equipment rack. There are instructions for its operation and also some danger placard information. Let's move down to the forward section into the cab area. We'll start first in the rear cab section. Just as a reminder, when the door is open, the step will auto-deploy. On the door panel, you'll have affixed your safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch combination. And then as we look overhead, you'll find your air conditioner unit. We've already covered the contents for the most part within this space. Let's move from this location up to the forward section, officer side. Just behind the officer seat, you'll find D-handle gains you access into the space with an adjustable shelf. To the front axle, you'll find Goodyear tires, Alcoa wheel, and also a center sight gauge into the center of that axle. As we move into the officer space, once again, door opens, steps will deploy. As you can see here, affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, and window control. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag in the front bolster for the officer area. That's located here. Please do not mount anything within this area. That's the indication for the warning placard information. You also have a bell rope for your fire bell located on the front right corner of the bumper. Let's take a quick look just to the left of this area where you'll find 12 volt via USB-A. There are two sets of those and also a barrel style. As we look overhead of the officer seat, you'll find the red and white candy cane labels indicating spare wiring. And then also you have a switch panel here for driver's side scene, front scene, officer scene, the siren brake, which is for the mechanical siren, driver's address light, driver alley light, officer alley light, and officer address light. Moving just to the left of this location, this is that wiring indicator for spare wiring. Please do not remove this until your maintenance team has had an opportunity to review. Behind the seat, 12 volt access and then also 120 volt when plugged into Shoreline power. We're now to the front bumper where you'll find your cab lift. There are instructions for its operation along with remote panel. All compartment doors open on the officer side, and then let's take a look at the equipment ladder down. You have a 24-foot extension ladder and a 14-foot roof, in addition with hand tools located on the upper section. Let's go ahead and move up onto the upper section of the body and also cab area. We'll identify a few items within this space. A fully enclosed hose bed. You can see the yellow indicators reflective around the edge of the walking surface. Hosebed dividers, 4 of them, they are movable. And then as we look into the space, we have grading down at the lower section for water drainage. As we move to the forward dunnage area, this is the location for the top fill for your water tank, located here. Moving forward, where you'll find your master stream device, it is an extend-a-gun, meaning that will extend over the cab section. As we move to the cab section itself, you'll find these warning placards indicating that this is a non-walking surface. And now we'll move into the chassis photos. There'll be very little audio within this. These are predominantly for your reference. What I would like to point out in the under portion, you do have operational hooks located in the bottom. These are 6,000 pound direct pull. These are not intended for lifting or towing your vehicle. From this point, there'll be no additional audio. Congratulations, Forest Grove, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 39415. If you have any questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.